Good morning and welcome to morning meditation. We're on Psalm 14. A scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy to him that understandeth. Go from the presence of a foolish man when thou perceivest not in him the lips of knowledge. The wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. Fools make a mock at sin, but among the righteous there is favor. In just those couple of verses, it describes what the Bible calls a fool. Now, I hear this all the time, judge not, lest ye be judged. Well, number one, we need to take that in the context that it's given and understand that Jesus was speaking to the Pharisees and Sadducees who made snap judgments based on outward appearance. Here, we have the definition of what a foolish person is. In fact, Proverbs mentions the fool often. Why? Because they have the power to influence us to make wrong decisions. It's saying right here, if you see these characteristics in someone, you need to step away from them. It doesn't matter how funny they are, what kind of a great personality they have. If they have the characteristics of a foolish person described not only in Proverbs 14, but all through the book of Proverbs, we're not to have anything to do with them. That doesn't mean you go preach them a sermon, but what it does mean is you back away from them, and when you ask, or they ask, you can say to them, hey, listen, you're a great person, but there's just some things that do not line up with Bible principles, and I can't fellowship with you because of that. You're not being rude. You're being prudent. You're stepping away from relationships that can harm you. It's just amazing to me how many Christians are on websites they shouldn't be on, talking to people on Facebook they have no business talking to. You know what I'm talking about. The Word of God is clear on those things. Foolishness is doing opposite of what we know to be right and true. And even unsaved people have a conscience. One of the 5 truths that God has stamped on everybody's heart is that learning that we have a conscience to know between right and wrong. And a person who keeps sinning against that conscience is going to get you to sin against your conscience. Let's be careful about who we fellowship with. The Bible is very clear in 1 Corinthians, what fellowship hath Christ with Belial, light with darkness? But yet, we'll be part of groups that get around and talk to each other, and they're full of darkness, they're scornful, they're foolish, they're opposite of biblical principles. Christian, we need to make sure that the people we fellowship with falls in line with the principles of the Word of God. As iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friends. Amnon was one of David's sons. Amnon cast a lustful eye toward his sister Tamar. But the Bible said he thought it was hard to do what he had in his heart, the evil lust. But then the phrase right after that is Amnon had a friend. And that friend's name was Jonadab. Jonadab wasn't unknown to Amnon. He was Amnon's cousin. And Jonadab said, look, this is the way you can set things up to get your way. And Amnon foolishly followed that wicked counsel. Just a few years later, Absalom, Tamar's brother, murdered Amnon. And David said, oh man, all my sons have been murdered. And who spoke up? None other than Jonadab. And he said, let not the king think that all the sons are murdered. Absalom murdered Amnon because he forced his sister Tamar. Here we see this slimy character Jonadab again, constantly mixing in other people's business. Christian, be careful of relationships like that. If somebody's critical of other people to you, they're going to be critical of you to other people. We want to have, instead, relationships that line up with the Word of God. As iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. We ought to be like a friend, like David was to Jonathan, sharpening each other in Bible principles, in Bible ways, and in Bible service. God bless you and have a good day.